Hey guys, Jade out here with yet another cool project in the shop. Today we're going to be starting a first for me, but something I've wanted to do for a long time. It's going to be my first ever patina paint job. The customer wants something that looks wild, lots of rust. It's got to have greens and blacks in it with obviously the brown shades. So I've done all my scientific research on YouTube and I think I got it. In the past, I've always relied on if I can see it here, I can make it happen, and I can see this in my head. It's got some amazing curves on it. I'm really excited about this job. So today we need to start stripping it down. So unfortunately we're not going to be able to start with this base because it has been painted with trim clad, and as far as I've researched, you can't paint automotive paint over trim clad because it will cause defects. And I don't want to have defects, even though this paint job, the name of the game is defects. But we need to sand this down to bare steel, re-primer it black, then we're going to paint it brown, then we're going to start building the layers up until I get the desired look, and we're going to seal that off with a clear coat. So you're going to want to stay tuned for this. I'm going to get some gloves on and a mask. I'm going to start sanding. We're going to start taping. And then we're going to start spraying.
Kustoms, wild creations, screaming thunder, no hesitations. Building giants with no justification in the valley, colossal revelations. The light roars, nightmare steel, beating hearts that engines feel. No surrender on this wheel. Chasing dreams with restless zeal.
So we've been sanding on the old truck all day, and we're getting pretty close to being able to start taping off all the windows and really start adding some color and some layers back to this old truck. We have found that the trim clad, you can see it. So there's a little bit left right there. See where it's darker in that patch? So all of this has been sanded. This is far enough. There's a bit left there, a little bit there. So we have a little bit more sanding to do, but once we started training our eye to the layers of the paint, we were able to see how deep we needed to go to get rid of it. So there's still like this glossy bit up here. You can see it right there, but the whole roof is good. So now in the morning, we just got to go around and finish those little areas, and then we'll be ready to tape the glass off. Then I'm going to seal it, then we're gonna prime it and start putting the color on, starting with brown, which will be the rust, and then black, which is the color that he chose as a primer, and then like a foresty green color that is gonna be like the color it originally was painted back in the day. So then I'll start weathering it down. I have kind of a few ideas of what I'm gonna do to make the Patina look as real as possible. So you kind of have to follow along because, you know, sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it, and this is gonna be no difference. But what I do have is the confidence to tackle something that I've never done, and I know in my mind it's gonna turn out great. So this was the first door, and you can see it's a little bit sanded, heavier than the rest of the truck because we didn't quite have our eyes keyed in to exactly when enough was enough. So it's all fine, it's still flat. I'm gonna seal all that, it's gonna be great. We took the back fenders off so we could get in all the grooves. All up in here is gonna be painted green because up in the shaded areas, it would still be pretty crisp. The sun never beat as hard on it. So we're gonna paint all this, then put the fenders on, then start adding all the patina. Inside the box, he's going to rhino line it later, so we don't need to do nothing there. We're just going to bring the tape line an inch down from this bend, and we will paint to there. Then he can overlap with his box liner or whatever he puts in there. So we're just about there. Hopefully halfway through tomorrow, we'll have everything taped off, and tomorrow night I can seal it and then start building it back up. But that is my update for now. It's coming along really good. And I just can't wait to see it with the color back on it. This thing is going to be sweet. I've just finished taping everything off. It's just about ready to go. I've just got to wipe everything down with some wax and grease remover and blow it down one last time, tack rag it, and the goal for today is just to seal it. I just want to bring it back to one solid color. I've got the tailgate and the fender over here, another fender on the other side. But if I can get everything sealed today, tomorrow we can start laying down the layers and bringing in some color. So it's starting to get exciting. Yes, it was a lot of extra work, but I think in the end it's going to be worth it because I shouldn't have near the trouble with any kind of like reaction between the layers, any kind of orange peeling or just any defects. With paint, if you don't do it all correctly and have the right bases, you're just asking for trouble. So one last wipe down, I'm gonna get all set up and we're gonna spray this unit black. So I've got the truck sealed. It ended up being a gray color, not a black like I thought, but everything went good there. Now we're gonna start adding a little bit of color. We're gonna start by painting the whole truck brown, because then anywhere we sand through the black and the green will be brown as our base layer and it'll just be rust. So that for me works out best. Then it's gonna be black, then it's gonna be green. So whole truck's going brown next, black, and then green, and then the final touches and some clear, and we'll send her down the road.
Sparking steel in the desert dusk. Dreams rise from the brazen dust. Widowmaker, howling thrust. New beast born from the valley of rust. Hands rough, cut like jagged crows. Metal bending story grows. Flirting with disaster, bold it shows. In the furnace where ambition flows. Dubs, customs, wild creations. Screaming thunder, no hesitations. Building giants with no justification in the valley.
Now that I'm to this stage with this patina job, it's going to start to get a little bit more fun. It's time to get creative. So I've mixed up a couple of different tones of brown just by adding some white in there and some black in there and just kind of got it so when I spray those onto the truck, it's going to be a little bit more blotchy. That's what I'm going for. I don't want one tone of rust. The brown is the rust like I was mentioning before, and I know there's going to be a lot showing through right here. So I want to kind of come up here and just kind of blotch it up a little bit, darken it in the middle a little bit, and kind of try to make it look a little bit more realistic. I still have to wipe the vehicle down just before I paint, but I just wanted to explain myself, you know, the reason for my madness. So this is my thoughts. We're going to be fairly brown on top because of the sun beating down. Along this rib on both sides, we'll have some green running up, then it's gonna fade into black, and then it'll be to the brown. The more vertical, the more green there'll be, and then it'll transition to black on both sides. Like down in here, will either be black or a little bit of brown because of the rust. I'm thinking about just going to black here, and then down in the valley here and coming up this front nose piece will be green. The green will wrap around here. As it comes down here, it'll turn black, and then it'll turn brown for the top of the fender, back into black, and green down the side, probably putting a little bit of black showing through in here, maybe little bits of rust, but that's my thought right now. A lot of the roof will be left brown, and then it's gonna go to black, and then down in the crevice there and underneath the drip rail will be green. I'm gonna try to shoot a little bit of black on that edge there, but we're gonna see. It'll probably mostly green up on the top there. Kind of a lot of rust in here because it's kind of lays flatter, so there'll be some rust coming through, going to black, and then to green down the side of the door, and then I'll come back around with an airbrush. That'll be the last step, and kind of start maybe just dripping some stuff off of the door handles, probably a little bit down here off the drip rail, and just kind of make it a little bit more weathered. That'll be the last step before clear coat, but if I'm gonna get this done today, I need to start wiping this down, getting it clean before I start laying my top layers on. Tomorrow we'll sand everything and blend it. Then I'll probably go and just touch up a few spots, adding a little bit more green or black or brown wherever I feel like it needs it. And once I'm happy, we'll seal the deal with a clear coat. We are going to go with the gloss clear because that's the way I see a vehicle when it's wet, and I like how it brings all the colors out. You guys might have a different opinion, but that's okay. So there you go. Let's get started. I'm just kind of trying to make it look as realistic as possible. I really debated on putting like dirt and stuff along the fenders and spraying over it with the black next. I've seen it done on YouTube a few times. I'm just not 100% sure I want to do it. I don't really want dirt specks left in the paint. I know it doesn't really matter, but I think I'm going to avoid it this time. But you can see we definitely have some color change happening, and it's going to be sprayed probably to there in black. So most of this brown won't show, but if I do sand into it, I kind of want it to change tones. And I know if I wanted to get rid of the darkness, I could sand through it and go to the lighter color. So I have options. But I just need to wait for this to dry, and then we're going to spray it with black. I kind of think I'm going to hold off on the green for today and hit that on the last step. I might come in here and spray that green just so I can put the fenders back on, but we'll see. I do tend to get a little bit antsy sometimes, and who knows, she might be green by the end of the night. But I'm kind of hoping that I have one more sand day tomorrow and just kind of clean it up one last time before I do put the green on. Or I put the green on and then I just touch up the green tomorrow after I sand it. That sounds like it might be a better plan. I'm just about to start the black, and this is the plan. I've decided to start from the bottom and work my way up. I want to move the black up to about here where the transition, the angle changes. The black is going to taper off there, and I want the green to come in below that. So I need to make sure I come up just high enough with the black that I know the green's coming up maybe 3 to 4 inches lower. So it's a little less worn because it's more in the vertical. So the fender, I'm going to come up the fender till about there with the block right now, and then second coat will come up a little higher so it just dusts it, so it's thinner on that edge. So when I go to sand it, it blends a little bit faster, and then I'll come up with the green here. Then I'm going to add a little strip right here of black around that because that'll be green in there as well. The hood is going to be brown. I'll bring the black up probably till about here somewhere, and then the green will come in a little bit lower, and I'll kind of go around the top of the roof as well with some black because I know I want to bring green in all along here, probably a little bit of green going to black, going to rust on the roof. And in here, I haven't quite decided yet. I'm probably going to run some green along that leading edge. It's probably going to go into brown because it's in the flat, and up here it'll probably go back to black and then maybe some green, if not at least black. So we'll see how that turns out. A lot of the detail work will be done with the sanding after it dries, so I can start kind of sanding through where I want to. Like I can sand through the green into the black, into the brown. So if I want there to be a rust spot in the green somewhere, all I need to do is sand through. Then I can sand through to the black, which will leave a little bit of a ring, and it'll go into the brown. So it should be pretty cool. And then from there, of course, we'll bring in the airbrush and we'll just fine tune some things. But it's coming along. Let's turn this thing black and get rid of all this brown.
Sparking steel in the desert dusk. Dreams rise from the brazen dust. Widowmaker, howling thrust. New beast born from the valley of rust.
So I know you guys are probably saying to yourself right now that I lied to you, and maybe I did just a little bit. I started up top, and I did say I was going to start along the bottom. And no, I didn't paint the truck black. I do have a method here, and you can see there's definitely some brown left in there, up in there, on the roof, in there. I kind of have a plan mapped out for this truck now. I've left it pretty thin in along there, so it'll be easier for me to sand through. It's really not going to start coming around until the next stage when I get to sand all the colors together. Then it'll really start to pop. You'll be able to see a lot more of the brown. Then in the next step, we will also add some more detail. So this is just another step in the process, but I think it's looking pretty good. I look forward to sanding it out tomorrow and really bringing some of the color back. But let's mix up some green, splash it on there. I think I'm gonna bring it up to about there, and then some on the hood there, and maybe up on top just a bit so I can sand the three colors together. Tomorrow, definitely putting some green up along there. Everywhere where I feel like the sun really wouldn't have been able to kind of attack the paint. So anything more flatter, definitely getting hit harder. I don't know if you can see that up there or not, but there's definitely gonna be some brown up there. I left some brown on the box. And really now, it's just a matter of where do I want to sand through the green into the black, into the brown. So I can stop at any level to give it whatever effect. If I want it to look black along this edge in the end, I'll sand through the green into the black. If I want it to be brown, I'll sand through the green into the black and into the brown. So I can really make it rusty or just worn through the top layer of paint. So I got options. And that's the beauty of really stacking these layers up. Anyway, let's get the green on it. So for this coat, I've got to change my train of thought. I've got to think to myself, what can the sun not hit? So there's this drip rail right here. That's a lip where it'll cause shade underneath. So that would be more green. The same with this lip right here. Because it's an overhang, it'll shade the side even more than normal, more than this. So this here will be more green with less wear and tear from the sun, where this might have just a little bit more wear and tear. It's still vertical and it's still going to be a little bit better than, you know, the angle here and the flats up there. But that's what I'm thinking about for the coat of green. Where is the sun not beating on the paint? Where the rust was the opposite. Where did the sun beat on the paint? That's where I knew it would be the rustiest, because it would have wore through all the paint the fastest. But let's get started. I've already mixed up my paint. This is the last coat and the one that's really going to start bringing it together before we start to really add some detail in and make the truck look awesome. We're getting close. Keep pushing.
Dubs, customs, wild creations, screaming thunder, no hesitations. Building giants with no justification in the valley, colossal revelations. The light roars, nightmares steal, beating hearts that engines feel.
Now you're starting to see the true potential of this truck. It came in with a flat black rattle can paint job that we had to sand off so we could start fresh. But look at it now. It is absolutely stunning, and there's still a long way to go. All I want to do now is finish off the sanding and start adding some more detail. I went and bought my very first airbrush today. I've never airbrushed in my life. I've never claimed to be a painter. But one thing I've always said to myself is don't ever be scared to try something for the first time, because everybody had to try something for the first time before they mastered it. And here I am with this. I mastered fabricating and welding. Now I'm working on mastering painting. I've still got a long way to go. We're still sanding. Got to sand all around the front here. It's really a lot of work, but this is something that you could do with your buddies in a driveway on a weekend, where you've got to shell out a lot of money to professionals to get a good quality paint job, which takes months. So you can make your own choice what you prefer. I know the fake patina job isn't for everybody, but on a budget, you can still make something look awesome. You could be hanging out with your buddies, drinking a few brewskis, doing a little bit of painting, a little bit of sanding, and before you know it, you got something amazing and it didn't cost you that much money. So once I finish off all of the sanding, we're gonna come back in and we're gonna start laying in some drops and some little bit more damage with the airbrush. I'll be back on YouTube, you know, kind of getting trained up on the whole airbrushing thing, and I figure, you know, since I'm a novice, it can't be very hard to airbrush rust and stuff on an old truck. So, you know, that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna spend a, hour or so getting schooled on YouTube, and then I'm gonna come out here, pick up the airbrush, and we're gonna start spraying some paint. So you're gonna wanna keep tuning in for that one, because it can go one of two ways. But in my mind, it's only gonna go one way. And now that we're to this stage, I'm just going to, tickle your mind a little bit. Like I said before, I like glossy clear coat. A lot of you guys like semi-gloss or flat. The majority probably like flat. You like it like this. Yeah, it's beautiful. It looks great. But I prefer it like this. That, to me, just, looks better. So everybody for their own, but I'm a glossy clear guy. Maybe write in the comments what you think and whether you're a glossy or a flat guy. Either way, get in the garage and start building something. So the truck's over there ready to go. I just got to wipe it down one more time, and I've just mixed up a couple of different colors of brown. I don't want to get too carried away with any of the airbrushing, as this is my first vehicle that I'm going to be airbrushing, and I already feel like the patina itself looks really good. I'm really hesitant right now on just clear coating the truck, but in my mind I feel like, you know what? Give it a go. If it don't work out, just sand it off, because the paint is going to be very thin. I'm going to be very moderate with what I do. I don't want too much on it, but maybe I'll just put a little bit down here and a little bit along the back here, maybe add to this a little bit, and if I'm not liking it, I'm just going to stop. So let's see how this goes. I feel like I have watched enough YouTube videos, I've learned what I needed to learn, and if I'm gonna start anywhere, this would be the best place to start for a beginner airbrusher. Now, I'm going to run a couple of lines on a piece of paper, of course. I'd be a fool not to, but I do feel pretty confident. I feel confident in my skills and what I'm seeing. The biggest thing I feel with this whole deal is to know where you're going to want stuff to drip down. Because I feel like, for example, I'm going to use the lighter little specks like that, for example, right there, as bare steel rust, and I'm going to build off of that. Maybe I'll go dark just under it and I'll drip down just a little bit. Maybe the same off of there, just a little bit. I'm not going to get too carried away. I'm going to have a little look at what it's actually looking like to me, and then we'll just see. Like I said, if I need to abandon this plan because the truck's looking so good already, and I just, I'm really on the fence, to tell you the truth. I think you can sense that in my voice and the way I'm talking, that it's looking pretty darn good already. Do I want to ruin it, or am I going to enhance it? I'm hoping I'm going to be enhancing it. So let's see how this turns out. Again, if it's a disaster, we're going to sand it off and clear the truck the way it is. So this is the airbrush that I bought. I did a little bit of research. Supposedly it's a pretty good starter brush, and it's a single action. So you push it down and air and paint comes out. Where I do have a double action right here that I got on Marketplace. I went and picked this little pump up right here on Marketplace. It came with this, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna start with this. This here is a double action where you push it down and you've got your air. You pull it back, and the more you pull it back, the more paint comes out. So I want to start using this, but I think for this job, we're going to play it safe by using this here. And, I'm really winging it right now, but like I said before, everybody tried something for the first time before they mastered it, so I just can't be scared to give it a shot. It's something I've always wanted to do my whole life, and I just haven't got to it yet. So today's the day. I'm going to lay a couple of stripes on, well, maybe this right here, and we're going to go to work. So there's my little setup. I'm feeling a little more confident already, just hold it in my hand. As you can see, here's my first little bit, and I look at it and it's like, that seems pretty controllable. If I get closer, I can do a little bit of a line. So, I'm sure there's some more adjustments that I can do, but you know what? I think we're just going to go at it and we're going to see. So I'm going to stand back and I'm going to dust in kind of a bigger surrounding and then I'm gonna come in with my darker color and refine what I'm doing. That's the plan, that's what they taught me on YouTube, and that's what I'm going with. So whoever that fellow was that I watched doing airbrushing some rust on a car, well, I'm following your lead, bud. Okay guys, so I think I'm going to put the airbrush down for this job. I feel like I've done enough firsts, and I'm just not confident enough that I'm making the patina look any better with this washed out kind of rusty look. So I'm going to sand it all back off, and we're going to clear it the way it was, because the actual washed out paint job turned out excellent. I'm super happy with it, but I just don't have enough experience with the airbrush. I need to practice a little bit more, and trying to do it, you know, just for my first time. I'm calling it, you know, like I said, you have to pick something up for the first time to master it. And that's kind of what I did, but I definitely didn't master it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment. Am I doing the right thing by just leaving well enough alone and clearing it just with the washed out paint without all this stuff dripping down? My big thought behind all this is I'm not getting close enough. All my lines are kind of just washed out because I just not confident enough to get close enough to draw my lines and to be able to fill them in the exact same spot each time. And I don't want to make a mess of it, and it looks so good without it. So we're sanding it off. We're going to clear coat it. We're going to be done with this paint job. I'm going to practice up some more, and you will see me attempt it again in the future. But for now, let's let this dry, get sanding. I only did it on this side because I just wanted to just test it out. Like, I'm all right with this down here. So you got to imagine that the whole truck's going to be a lot darker. So all this is going to blend in a lot more, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling it, not confident enough that I'm making it look any better. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Did I do the right thing by shutting this show down and just sanding this junk off and clearing it the way it was? So now that the paint is dried, I'm gonna just do a couple of tests to see what it looks like once I clear coat it, because I know everything is gonna blend a lot better. And I'm just gonna have a little look. I still feel like what I'm gonna maybe do is not abandon it completely. Maybe I've gotta come back around and just sand it and remove some of it. Maybe I just went a little bit too heavy. Because once you do clear coat it, it does change the look a little bit. But I think my problem was the videos that I watched were all like a dripping down kind of rust like this. So that's where my mind was. And I feel like, you know what? I'd be better off removing it all and just going with my gut and highlighting the little areas that maybe should be a little darker, like underneath here maybe, and just go a little bit more subtle with it. I think that would be a better look. So that's where I'm at. It's not a complete loss yet. It's still a learning experience. So I've decided to not give up the airbrushing just quite yet. I sanded all of the other stuff off, and I've left, it's just, you know, it's just light now. So what I've decided is less is more. I'm gonna hit just my key areas, just on the ledges. I'm gonna follow my gut. So along here, and just a little bit here, and just give it just enough to give it the effect without going overboard. And I think that's what I did. I kind of was following my mentor on YouTube and what he did, and I feel like I'm gonna be better off just freestyling it and do what I wanna do. So that's where we're at, and I'm gonna pick up the airbrush again and attempt number 2.
Dubs, customs, building beasts. Nature's pattern, raw and real. Golden frame turning heads. Valley of rust they seal.
Okay guys, so I'm just about to spray the clear, and I'm sure glad that I didn't just give up on the airbrush. I'm definitely glad that I put it down when I wasn't happy with what I was doing, but I stood back, I regrouped, I came up with a new plan, sanded all the old stuff off, and I started over. And you can see that I just went a lot more subtle, a little bit there, and just didn't get too carried away with it. went along like these body lines, darkened them up just a little bit, and I'm a lot happier with this. I have learned a ton on this job, so I'm glad that I kept the never give up attitude. So let's get some clear on this thing, seal it up, and see what it really looks like. It's gonna transform with the clear on it. All that green's gonna be a lot darker. The browns, the blacks, everything is gonna start blending together. And I'm looking really forward to seeing the end result. So I'm gonna get started. You guys stand back and just enjoy the show.
Sparking steel in the desert dusk. Dreams rise from the brazen dust. Widowmaker, a howling thrust. New beast born from the valley of rust. Hands rough, cut like jagged crows. Metal bending story grows. Flirting with disaster, bold it shows. In the furnace where ambition flows. Dubs, customs, wild creations. Screaming thunder, no hesitations. Building giants with no justification. In the valley, colossal revelations. The light roars, nightmare steel. Beating hearts that engines feel.
There we go, guys. I'm glad I never gave up on the airbrushing. I stood back, I regrouped, I made a plan, and I executed it perfectly. I do love what I ended up with. The truck looks amazing. You know, I'm no painter, but I'm one step closer. I learned a lot. I'm happy I did what I did. I love the gloss clear. Truck looks amazing. Tailgate will go on next. We've got mirrors to put on, grill to put on, all of the stuff that's really going to make this truck come back around. I can't wait to pull all of the paper off to really see the full effect. Here it is. It's time to take it out and show everybody. Number one, you know, we did the painting, we did the patina. Number two, I almost put the airbrush down and called it a day. I'm glad that I didn't. I stood back, I assessed, and started over. I think it turned out great. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like and subscribe like always. Be safe out there.
Hood ornament like a ghost. Driving through with silent boasts. Engine roars a beastly sound. In this valley it's renowned. Chrome and rust they intertwine. Metal madness so divine. Heavy like a mountain's weight. Cadillac